All right, welcome to Veteran Talk. This is Keith Ryan Doy. Today I have Gwendolyn, who's an active Navy sailor. How are you doing, Gwendolyn?
I'm doing pretty good today. How about yourself?
No, I'm doing good, doing good. So, as you know, you have been prepped like most of my guests have been prepped beforehand. We did our talking and all that, and even up to the lead up. Um, I found you on Reddit, and I can't bring up that post because r/Navy said I couldn't do it. So
Yep. Understandable. Plausible deniability. It wouldn't be hard to find it with a little bit of knowledge, but for plausible deniability, they don't want any direct links.
so on that, um, not bringing that up, you are a transgender service member.
Correct.
All right. And you are a trans female?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to get that. I'm
Just wanted to
still
make sure you
trying
had the
to
wording right.
I'm still trying to deal with this whole trans stuff.
Yep. That's what I mean.
I've always been the never been a good old boy, but I've always been one of those,
Yep.
okay, it doesn't affect me, I don't need to worry about it. And
With lack of exposure comes lack of a drive to learn.
well, and I mean, it's not so much that, it's, even though we all know change, accept change, diversity, and all that, it seems like a lot more people these days would rather just put themselves around the echo chamber. And then, oh, you're right, you're right, you're right. That person's just bigoted and this and that and whatnot. And who knows and who cares? And so, and, you know, being in the military, you learn a lot about diversity and how to handle diversity.
And if you don't learn, then they teach you real quick.
Exactly. Um, and you know, and so when did you join? What year?
I signed my contract in the summer of 2011, and I went to boot camp and started my active service the summer of 2012.
And hold on 1 minute. Let me see here real quick. I gotta brush up on myself real quick. Let's see here. Sorry about that. Okay. And you wait, when in 2011 again?
June. I signed my contract June 2011. So before Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed. I've been affiliated since before Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed.
Oh, see, you already knew where I was going to. You already knew. Yeah. So, yeah, and I was there, years before it was repealed. And panic happens, and I think it's less the person who the panic is directed at than it is the person who does the panicking. And I've never honestly known, well, I mean, one officer, but that got corrected real quick. um, when he was one of those DADT hunters,
Mhm.
and yeah, we corrected that real quickly. But,
Yeah.
you know, and I think the sad part is, you know, you got veterans, right, who are just dead against progress at any cost. Maybe there's some good reasons, maybe there's not some good reasons. I mean, my reasons for that policy change, that 2000 what 19 policy change,
Yep.
yeah, was just training. you know um there I think people fail to realize that accidental training injuries happen.
Yeah.
um and and that's the last thing you want to do. you know if you got a trans man who's in the barracks with the guys, you're getting ready, and I say that as if they're separated,
Yeah.
you know and I mean, in all honesty, those bases are as segregated as New York is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just
Hmm. And a
everybody.
lot of the barracks, you'll have it. It's not like it used to be where you had the male barracks in one building and the female barracks in
Yeah.
another. Nowadays, it's here's the barracks. That room might be male. That room might be female, and they're right next door to each other.
Well, and that was the thing though. It seemed only for basic AIT, and then they just didn't give a shit.
Yep.
And I admired that. At the same time, I was kind of appalled by that because
You broke up there.
we call each other, not so much adults, but
I lost you.
boys, girls,
Wait. I lost you there. I lost you after you saying I admired that.
Oh, I said I was admired by that, but appalled by that at the same time. Oh, hold on. Apparently my internet is unstable. Uh-oh.
It's in the USA, so it's not a surprise. We don't have the best internet in the world.
But but yeah, and as much as people like to complain about how we're adults and we're men, we're women, when you first go into the military, you're a boy, you're a girl.
Mhm.
There's
You're
no.
still fresh out of high school for the most
Yeah.
part.
Well, and even if you are an adult, you don't have, the only thing is this: you had an apartment, you had a great job. Now you're going into barracks and you're going into
Hmm.
just kiddie shit. And you're like, well, what the hell? you know? So
Yeah. Even if you were adult, you get back into the habit of being treated like a child, very much so while you're in the military.
I knew guys that had their own apartments at 18, and they had great little jobs, and they had um, getting ready to go to school and all that. And they're like, you know what? They're like, I'm gonna go to the military.
Hmm.
I'm like, why did you do that?
Did you enjoy living with your parents? Because you're going back to living with your parents, basically.
I mean, basically. And then when you get out, you go back to somewhat living with your parents. I say somewhat because if you don't make smart financial moves, that's exactly
Yeah.
where you're going.
Well, even for me, that is the smart financial move. During the transition period, parents have said, "Hey, we understand it's a transition period. Come back home and live here for a couple months while you shift careers."
Hmm.
Hey, that's free rent for a month or two. That makes sense for some people.
Oh
For
yeah.
some people, it's the only option because, like you said, didn't make smart financial decisions. But for
Hmm.
sometimes It's just the smart financial decision.
Oh yeah, yeah, and sometimes it is a smart financial decision. But now, as we keep going on with progress, and I'm now to the point where, well, all right, let's turn this into a bigger experiment than we already have. Well, and here's the thing: is I hear both sides, both sides of the aisle. Um, and this is why this is, and I'll get to why this is nonpartisan. All right. So both sides of the aisle say you can't turn the military into a social experiment. Wrong. The military has been nothing but social experiment.
Yep, for its entire existence.
You know, the first volunteers were in the Revolutionary War.
Mm-hmm.
Stop
At what point
loss.
the governing idea of how the U.S. was going to work was in itself a brand new idea. So
Yeah, yeah.
when they were fighting the Revolutionary War, they were fighting to experiment on how to run a country. And here is us 200, 300, whatever years later.
Yep. And we're still trying to, we're still experimenting. um, and being a part of that experiment, I have blinders in some aspects of the areas, and then I don't in others.
Yep.
It's all based on your experience in the military.
Mm-hmm.
And from, not everyone's going to have a sob story. Not everyone's going to have a bright, shiny, bushy tail face like I do when it comes to recounting those stories. um, but I see that we're going to do good. We're going to continue to do good no matter where the military keeps going. I think it's up to leadership to lead,
Mm-hmm.
not talking heads, not people like me. I think people sometimes forget that, yeah, veterans can influence a lot, but it's up to the service members.
Yeah.
To get the military to where it needs to be.
Those who are in it and living through it as they make the decisions, making the decisions, the deck plate leaders, your chief's mess, your officers mess, and your Pentagon members, and the people that are there leading, making decisions on what's best for the group that they're leading.
Yeah, because I can shout all day long how integration for all is horrible and shouldn't be done. But then at the same time, I don't really feel like that. And it's like, why even do that?
Mm-hmm.
Why even do that? I think that, yeah, veterans should embrace progress. Is it going to be great? No. Is it going to be easy? No. Does it feel a little disingenuous? Well, to a degree.
It pulls them further from what they empathize with as their experience, which makes them feel like they're losing part of their past.
Well, and I don't even think that. I mean, I'm all for progress. I could have just, high-fived you digitally and, good on you and all that, and not brought you up, for your story or, what we could see as the progress of the military. I could have done all of that and just said, you know what? I feel good about progress in the military. But at the same time, it's not like I don't feel that there's a disingenuous output to try to make up for what has considerably been a loss, which is manpower.
Yeah, which has been an issue for years and years in the military.
Oh, manpower has been at an absolute tailspin since, from what I've
PTS.
heard, since
Yep.
they actually stopped doing conscription.
Yep.
It's
Well,
been-
it's definitely had its peaks and its troughs, but since PTS happened, the perform to serve, and the chaptering people out based off of the perform to serve, the military didn't need that many people anymore. Since then, just like you said, it's been in a tailspin. Ever since that, there's been manning problems across the board with getting people to stay that want to stay, getting people to join that are qualified to join.
Well, and then that's the thing too is, I mean, let's be honest. Technically, qualifications for joining are somewhat of a joke.
Yeah.
I knew people that went in that shouldn't have probably gone in. I definitely should never have went in. Well, I mean, so I smoked a lot of pot before joining the
But they have a waiver for everything.
I didn't have to waive it though.
Oh, you just didn't tell
No. So you know the whole story. You go in, everything looks right as rain. You get your medical stuff in order.
them.
But yeah, I mean, I was asthmatic. I have ADHD, and I smoked pot. Let's be honest. In the military that's coming up now, I would not have joined. There would have been no waiver for any of that.
Yeah.
I think people forget that the peacetime military hates waivers.
Mm-hmm.
And the peacetime, that's ultimately what we're approaching now is the peacetime military.
Yeah. That's the goal shortly.
Well, let's hope that's the goal. I know a few people who, might not like it, but I would rather have peace. I just don't want what comes with it.
Yeah.
That was the military my generation joined.
Mm-hmm.
No one was ready for what came out of that.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would like is a peacetime military and a peace that holds up throughout our lifetime.
Yeah.
All right.
It doesn't
Throughout our
get shattered
generation
shortly thereafter.
lifetime, extends into the next generation, but they need to be trained on what
Be ready to handle a non-peace time.
And what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
And from, it's never good. It's never going to be good. Military has its faults just like any organization or government service.
Mm-hmm.
I, think that you'll find more determination from the military and veterans in general, because it's go 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 go. I mean, because I know you've seen it, as a leader. It just seems like you get people that get recruited are at first uncertain.
Mm-hmm. Once they get their bearing though, and they get their feet under them, they take off and do what they got to do.
And they're determined, they're bullheaded, they're
Yep.
this, they're that, they're whatever, and who cares? But it's just
Mhm.
the simple fact that, a lot's changed. Attitudes have partially changed. But, I mean, I don't ever, well, I don't ever see. I do see my kids, if they don't have anything to go to, they'll probably go to the military. I'm not too up about that. It was a great experience for me for as long as they had allowed an alcoholic to stay in. But um but no, I guess because I think and it's got nothing to do with what I was told. When I was told going into the military, only the stupid and the lazy and criminals go into the military.
Yo,
You know, um
that mindset that only the people with no other options in life are the ones that join the military.
yeah. And then you go in and you find out, oh no, there's all these options. And,
Yo,
no, I'm going here.
yeah, there's plenty of people that joined for plenty of reasons other than they had nothing else to do.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I find that too.
And you get some of those. Don't get me wrong, you definitely get some of those. I've served with people that are like, yeah, I was in juvie and my judge said I could either go to jail or join the military. I've definitely served with people like that for sure.
Okay.
But I've also served with people that could have gone to college and gotten a doctor.
Oh, I may have to pause. Hold on 1
You're
minute.
fine. Gotta go get a lighter.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, one of the first junior HMs on one of my ships, he was a millionaire. Definitely wasn't the join the Navy because he had no options. Like he came from money. Both his parents were doctors and were well off, but it was a family tradition that they all join, do a 4-year tour, and get out and then go about their lives. And
Yep.
he was honoring his family by doing it.
Oh yeah. And I find that you know, that that is, that manpower, barracks, all that. Sorry, I'm losing my track of mind right now. Um,
I got ADHD too. I understand.
yeah, well, everything goes in the cyclone, and you're like, where? Give me, give me, give me.
Squirrel.
um, but yeah, I guess because they need manpower, I feel that it's disingenuous that we're now seeing um certain themes go different ways. Doesn't mean that when you get out, I won't call you assistant,
Mhm.
or a trans man, a brother. That no, that's it's like, why did you serve in the first place if you're not going to have that family behind you?
That camaraderie.
So even though I do feel that progress is being made and I do feel disingenuous, I'm still going to accept whatever comes out of those decisions.
Yeah.
Because in the end, and I don't know if you've seen it, but if veterans only have veterans.
Yep.
I mean, they have other groups, as we can all tell and see from
outside of government service and the Department of Veteran Affairs. Outside of that, your service doesn't mean a whole lot anymore past to each other.
Yeah. Or your problem.
Everyone will thank you for your service while you're in, but once you're out, it's, oh, you served, thanks for serving, and that's the end of the conversation. It's no longer
exactly
the foot in the door that it was maybe a decade or two ago.
Well, I think war has a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
I think family members have a lot to do with that. I think the bad taste in everybody's mouth that we're now feeling.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest, I have a very sour taste in my mouth, and I was in the outpost, so and no matter what excuse was used or what excuse is used now for an anti-war movement, It just, for the people who serve, bad taste come into mouth. Happens when you're in there and you stop drinking the Kool-Aid and you're like, you know what? I am me. Everyone starts having their I am Spartacus moment. I'm an individual, and these are all individuals, and what can you do to us except for write us up or make
No.
us do push-ups or you know um and then I've heard every argument to the sun on why um a policy being overturned is bad morale. Well, I don't remember. I mean, I did have morale problems, but it's not because we were helping gay people out during Don't Ask, Don't Tell. So I doubt that transgenders in the military are gonna drop morale so bad that we're gonna have desertions the same as we would during a war. You know what I mean? It doesn't happen like that. There may be some people who desert because they don't like it, but in the end, we all know what happens to deserters.
Yeah, and not only that, but in the end, when you have someone willing to take such a drastic measure over something so small, well, if shit hit the fan, what would they have done when shit hit the fan?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I think that and that's why the argument does not hold weight even with veterans. Because even veterans saying this vitriolic shit. Like, oh, not in my military. Well, no, actually, yeah, in your military there were.
They just didn't tell you.
or they knew and they just didn't care.
Yeah.
Because they'd be right back in. I always tell people, I'm like, you want to know a good argument as to why progress is good in the military? I'm like, transgenderism in the military is a good thing because now Marines have no excuse to beat up Thais, Filipinos, and anyone else.
Yep. They can't be discriminatory anymore because now they have their shipmates and their battle buddies and their soldiers and their airmen right next to them. They're the exact same category that they might have been discriminatory against, and so now it's you want to be a bad person to another human being that we're not at war with, that's on the other side of a battlefield from you. Well, here's the black and white. Stop being a bad person.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I think discrimination, to me, discrimination is harshish term. Yeah. Because there are people who don't mean to discriminate that do discriminate.
Yeah, it's unintentional coming from it's not an intentional discrimination all the time. Yeah. Some people definitely be coming from a position of lack of understanding.
Yeah. Or you're just too overwhelmed with the joke and you let it out.
So if you give them the chance to get that understanding, it leaves less chance for future discrimination.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's and again, that's why I felt it was an honor but a duty at the same time to get you on. Yeah. Because if veterans watch this, and I say if because I know they do, but it's just the clicking in the head, it's the getting out of the can't get right, mind frame. That guess what? You can have your opinions, but would you do this to a person? Would you would you really say this to a person that you're next to with bullets flying or your ship
Yeah,
is
the
flooded?
person that's watching your back.
Yeah, and I mean for the Navy, the easiest example is if my ship is going down and I'm next to you and I'm like, what do you need me to do? EM2.
Yeah,
And you tell me and I'm like, got it. At least keep your
exactly.
biases to yourself. Remember that
Yeah.
this is the person that's right next to you.
hmm
Good,
Person
bad.
that's suffering through your suffering and going through the same trials and tribulations that you're going through right alongside you.
And I find that outward influences are somewhat coming into the military, but at the same time, it's up to the service members and veterans to somewhat correct that, if you know what I mean.
hmm
Someone who's never served and is like, this is discrimination. It's like, well, yeah, we know that, but see how we're all around this person who's being discriminated against?
Yep.
Like, we don't need you to tell us what we know when we're trying to fix it ourselves.
Yep.
So, and like I said, when I made my comment, it was, it's not easy changing a mindset.
I don't even remember what yours was. I'm gonna pull it up actually, because I answered so many people. I forget
I
who
can find
said
it.
what and what. I have memory problems. I've seen four
Oh, you're
different
not the only
specialists.
one. I'm pretty sure most of our generation in the
Oh yeah,
military.
yeah. I've talked to a lot of people that say that even if they've always had bad memories, the Navy, the military as a whole, definitely brings it out as much as anything else.
Oh, I think it's just that bond that you get.
Let's see if I can just control F your name. Not on the front page. Let's expand and see if you're in the second page. I honestly forget what our entire conversation was. Nope, that's not you. That's someone else. 500 more. What would your username is something like Navy Vet something, right?
Yeah, Nevet 22. I still keep that, even though I'm old as shit. Ah, let's see here.
Let's see if I can even find it. Okay.
All right, so who cares? I served with gas sailors during DADT. Oh, I meant to say gay sailors during DADT. Autocorrect. Damn you.
I can't even find your comment, and it's such a hectic. I'm not even gonna try.
that's why I found it. Uh, so yeah. So it starts. Who cares? I served with gay sailors during DADT. No one cared. Take care of the family, and they won't feel isolated or hated. That goes for all of the family, and we are. We are very much family. You
Mhm.
know, that's not supposed to be a dismissive comment. It's like it's like who cares if again this brother, this sister is transgender.
Yeah.
Take care of them. You don't need someone feeling isolated and feeling hatred. You
Oh,
know,
there you go.
we're a family.
Mm-hmm.
Like I tell people when me and one of my supervisors go at it with each other. You know, we he was Army, I was Navy, and we just go at each other, or I pick at him, and then he brings out his NCO. But even still, it's like we're a family. You know,
Yep.
even me and him are family. We're all family.
Exactly.
And you know, and that's why that's why I also say outside influences too, because you got people who don't
Mhm.
serve, and then they want to put their 2 cents in, and it's like I get that you do, I get that you want to be for the troops, but you're also talking about a community who rally around even the worst of the worst too. And even though we publicly shame them and, say, hey, good riddance, get the hell out of our lives, if that despicable human being ever asked for help that was a non-biased, non-hating thing, we would be there too for that despicable human being
Mhm.
that once wore the uniform.
Exactly.
And that's why I say outside influences, is because
Yeah.
bias does come through, bias does show. And they don't know the bond, good, bad, ugly, anything that happens within that community,
Mhm.
And so that's why I was like, and again, that's why I was like, okay, who cares? You're a trans person. That's cool. That's awesome. I got your back.
Good for you, but get back to work.
Get back. Get back. To
Exactly. That is honestly the best mindset in the world for anyone to have.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Exactly.
It shouldn't matter. Are you doing your job? Cool. Get back to work and keep doing your job.
Yeah. And that's why it's like, and again, that's why I bring up the, yay progress, bad, seems disingenuous though at the same time, because instead of highlighting, certain things about a person's life, highlight what they're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
Good, bad, ugly. Hey, this person drinks a lot. Oh, man, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's like, okay, let's get you some help. Or,
Exactly.
I just got promoted. Oh man, congratulations.
Here's your more work to do.
Here's more work to do. Let's go out and celebrate. I'm 2 ranks lower than you, but let's go out and have a good time. Let's bring the alcoholic too. Let's go. Come on, man. So I mean, but yeah, if we're gonna highlight, at least highlight achievements or something else.
Exactly.
I've always found that should be the core of recruiting.
Exactly.
So, and if we are, and I also think this too, if we are going to highlight stuff, well then let's also highlight the low life shit that happens.
Mm-hmm.
This whole show isn't this isn't a recruiting tool for the military.
Exactly.
This is for civilians and service members to know, hey, you got a home, but at the same time, guess what? Before you sign that paperwork for 4 years, 8 years, whatever, before you keep going step up, promotion, know what you're getting into.
Mm-hmm.
I found that a lot of people who wanted to get promoted didn't realize what a promotion entailed.
Yeah.
And then
they wanted to get promoted because they wanted more money. They didn't realize it meant more work.
Yeah. Or more people to watch after.
Yeah.
Or
more people you're responsible for now that you need to take care of.
Well, and that's always been the thing though, is it's like you have to know when you go up. I'm gonna keep this Navy. So Navy wide, you would hope that somebody who had been in time and service, time and rank, is as they say, EM2, I'm ready to come into your ranks, and you're like, no, you're not. Like, yes, I am. Okay, let's see how you do. Pass the test. they go and get their initial frocking ceremony. I say initial because we all know you got that 6 month,
Yep.
6 month probationary
That 6 months
period.
to try you within the for the Navy to trial run you, doing the work to see if they like how you do it. If you do a good job, then they'll start paying you for the work you've been doing.
Yep, yep. And so and then all of a sudden, it's like, I wasn't ready for this. So we told you, but guess what? You passed the 6 month probation. You're a second class like us. Welcome to the shit show, buddy.
Yeah.
And and so it's just I think we really need change some stuff on recruiting and all that. Will it be done? Probably not. But that's why you got this place. You got the highs, you got the lows, you got the what, you got the who does it, the showing the camaraderie, but at the same time, the good and the bad.
Yeah.
Now, let's turn this into a recruiting commercial. So did you transition in the military or?
I did.
Okay.
Yep. I joined the military, serving as male in male uniform, male birthing and everything, and did so for 4 years before I began trying to live authentically to myself, and 5 years before I actually began to be approved for treatment.
Okay. How's that treatment working out?
Has its ups and downs. I've had good surprises and bad surprises.
All right.
And headaches and joyful days. So I say 4 years before I began, and 5 years, or before I tried, and 5 years before I began, because it took 10 months from the day I walked into medical to say, hey, I'm trans and I want to live authentically as myself, before I started with actual medical treatment past and just like mental health. So that was one of the downs. But then as part of that process, I got connected with a group therapy at a military hospital. Completely, the entire group was geared towards gender identity based discussions, whether that be transgender, gender non-conforming, intersex, anything where someone wanted to come to have a conversation with a group of people about gender identity. And that was honestly the highlight of my last year on board a ship, was getting to go to that and talk to other people and know that I'm not alone. There's other people struggling through this right there with me. Just like you said earlier, my brothers and my sisters. I got people who know, understand, and have experienced the same thing right there. So that's something I'd never had before. That was a good thing that doing it has gotten. And then I say, I had a surgery, not the surgery. I say that with quotation marks because that's what everyone calls it, but there's no singular surgery in the process. But I had a surgery I was not expecting while I was active duty, because the military already provides the surgery to service members, and my surgeon was like, I don't give a fuck. You want the surgery? You meet all the mental health requirements for it? Do you meet all the administrative requirements for it? Cool. I got the OR book. Let's go, kind of thing. So that was, oh my gosh, I didn't think this would happen while I was in the Navy. And that happened. And I say the bad surprises because, like, I've been eligible through military instruction and admin requirements for full bottom surgery for a year and a half now, but I haven't even pursued it. I was getting out at the end of 2021. And I'm like, a 2-year span is not long enough to meet the administrative burden of routing the request as high as it goes. It goes as high as, I want to say, like the 4th or 5th highest ranking person in the Navy to get approved. So
all the way up to milpers.
Yeah, it goes all the way up to the Deputy Chief of Naval Operations M1 for manpower person training.
Yeah. Keep forgetting what that title is. Hold on 1 minute. Let me get my charger real quick. I'm gonna put us on pause
You're
again.
good.
All right.
So you had asked me about some pros and cons and the upsides and downsides, and I was on my last little bit of the point, some of the downsides of having transitioned to the Navy. There's actually a doctoral dissertation was done on trans service in the military by a doctoral candidate whose name is Sherry Swakowski. It's available online. You can actually Google it. Sherry Swakowski. She has an academia.edu website with her paper that she did. And one of the findings of that paper is that the average time from the point you become eligible to request the surgery that's like, let's say the final piece of your care, it's not always, but the biggest surgery, the biggest point that everyone brings into contention, the surgery, from the point you qualify for it to starting the routing, the request, to getting that request back approved, to you actually going out and talking to a surgeon. What would you guess that average time is?
Well, I mean, it's the military, so I would say it's what, probably 2 years, 3 years.
You're very close. 18 months is the average.
Okay.
Of that 18 months, an average of 85% or greater required congressional intervention to get it to pass through all the hoops. It
Yep.
sat on someone's desk for long enough that the service member reached out to their congressman. The congressman reached out to the Navy and said, "Where's this paper?" And then they found it and kept it going.
Yep.
85% of the cases. There's 2 cases that wasn't required.
Okay.
So the downside, that's the big downside. It's had its upsides. Like I said, I got a surgery I wasn't expecting. Voice training became offered and eligible at one point. I was allowed. We have vocal therapists in the military healthcare system that do it for military reasons, like people that come back after having some damage to their lungs and have to relearn how to talk. But in order for them to keep up their qualifications, they have to do so many of those per a time frame, and there aren't enough need for them to meet that requirement. So the Navy's like, well, we got this other population of people here that want that and that can help this population of people keep up their qualifications. Bada bang, I became eligible for vocal training. So it's definitely had some pleasant surprises, but there's the negative surprises.
Oh,
as
of
well.
course there are. I mean, we're
Yeah.
talking about bureaucracy here.
Indeed.
The only
Yeah,
thing worse than that is I can't even think of it.
if you ever feel like reading a 200-page doctoral dissertation on trans service in the military, that it's out there. Barriers to care, a multiple case study examining the experiences of transgender service members seeking gender reassignment surgery.
That way.
I'll see if I can link the copy. There's a chat, yeah, right there. That's her website.
Okay, hold on 1 minute. All right. Let me hit that so that I have it up here.
But feel free to peruse that at any point you want. If you have any follow-on questions for me, I'd be happy to talk about it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, oh, you know what? I will. Like I said, I treat this less like a interview and more like a, hey, you know, you could be a great fit for the show later on. Because I mean, I do. I don't. What do you call that? It's not a okay. That's good. This is
One and done. Yeah.
I'll never talk to you again. It's building up a community.
Yep.
Hey, watch this. I think this guy's got it. And if this guy don't got it, let's how can we have guests on his show to, reach out, help spread the awareness and all that.
Yeah.
I started this mostly because of all the veteran suicides that happened. And it was, oh, he was, this person was, didn't have a voice, it seemed, or we gave love and all this and just so much trouble. And I'm like, no, not really. I'm like, because if that person really felt they had purpose or a voice, they, would try to reach out before it happened,
Mhm.
you know. So that was the onus for the show. And then it's just like, well, I can expand it to the military too, have military people come on because, there might be a time where you just aren't feeling it,
Mhm.
talk to somebody and you're just in your own little world. Yeah, we've all been in there in the military, and it happens outside the military. So, why not do some good
Mhm.
platform? Like I'm doing now. I consider this service after service. There you go. Bam. Now, if I ever did edit, I'd put a star right here, and then the more you know, or maybe a PSA.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I mean, it's bureaucracy, and I don't know anybody who hasn't been in the tendrils of bureaucracy that doesn't know that,
Yeah.
2 years is, I mean, that's quick for the military. Let's be honest. That is quick.
For the bureaucracy side, yes. Typically, for healthcare, you tend to hope things go a little quicker.
Well, I mean,
But I understand why this is afoot in both camps for a lot of because it's so new. It's still as much a bureaucratic issue as it is a medical issue.
yeah, and yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure service members can emphasize and veterans can em- empathize, empathy
Mm,
anyway. Whatever
empathize.
that, yeah, okay, empathize. With the doctors doing all that they can with what they have.
Yeah, and on the deck plate at that level, definitely the medical teams and the medical care providers that I've associated with, like you just said, that they do their all. They put in above and beyond to do the best they can to provide the care they want to provide. It's
like I
bureaucratic care.
like I tell my wife, I'm like, you hope. Yeah, all you
Yeah,
can do is hope. You
yeah,
know, you, it's like the, hope, fill your hands up with shit and hope. Which one, fills up faster? Well, we already know which one fills up faster. You just hope that hope comes into formation from that shit. You get a miraculous transfer that's like, oh God, yes, I hope finally came into being. Whew. So, um, the one thing that, and this is, hold on 1 minute. Let me. And then that she must be asleep anyway. You all right? So with everything going on with the um all right, I'm just gonna plow through this as best as I can. With the sexual harassment and sexual assault going on in the military, do you feel safe as a transgender woman in the
Um,
military?
so that's a very, very individualistic answer. So my answer is definitely not going to be everyone's.
No, I know.
Um, yeah, personally, I feel I am, to the best of my ability, at least, and at no more risk of anything sexual harassment wise than it would be if I wasn't in the military. But that's also because of my specific situation, in that I'm on shore duty for my normal shore rotation, and I'm living off base because that's typically how shore duty works, and there's a lot less close quarters stuff. Um, if I was on a ship, I might be more afraid of it, but again, I'd say that the people, if I was on a ship in my current situation in the Navy, I'd say those that I live with in female birthing would be more scared than I am.
Yeah.
Because they would be worried about me in their space. Unfounded worries, in my opinion, because I'm not that kind of person, but worries nonetheless.
Yeah.
A trans man would definitely have a completely different outlook on that and might be a lot more afraid of the possibility than I am because of the space they're in. I'm not going to speak to anyone. They might not, because I know a couple of trans guys that are fucking ripped. Like, they could beat you up with 3 other guys at the same time and not break a sweat. But that's not true for everyone. I know some trans guys that look like this. So there's no one size fits all to everyone, of course, just like anyone in the world. But personally, that's not something I tend to worry about or be afraid of, because I do my best to avoid situations where that would be a worry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
The military is about, well, it's supposed to be about accountability, but let's.
so I would see myself at no more risk than any other servicewoman, just from having some type of harassment case from, like, say, a stranger. Because I don't really connect with people on a level that they would reach the familiarity, because most sexual assault and sexual harassment is done by those you know, not by complete strangers. If you look at statistics in life, I don't ever get to that level with people, to the level of familiarity that makes that a higher risk factor. So I kind of keep everyone at arm's length, period.
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, I find it more and more that's most service members anymore.
Yeah.
And I mean, during my time,
and just people in general, even.
Yeah, that was the same thing. You keep each other close, but get out of my room.
If I were a different rate, like your rate, where I served in a much smaller unit, I could probably see it being a much higher worry of mine. But I served on a small boy, and if I went back to the fleet, I'd serve on another small boy or an aircraft carrier. So, there's a little bit more room for a lack of familiarity the bigger your ship gets.
Yeah.
And that familiarity is where a lot of the breeding ground for those type of issues happen.
Yeah.
So if I was like in a riverine squadron or a security boat or air wing or something, I would probably be much more aware of the threats than in my situation.
Oh yeah, no, I get it. And yeah, we know you can't speak for everybody. So that's why it's like and and that's good that you said that, because I'm not trying, I don't want people jumping on you like, oh, look at this person for military training.
Yep, exactly.
It's like, I need to get off the show or cancel this show.
I know a plethora of other women, other trans women specifically, but other women that do not have quite the same arm's length mentality from that threat as I do,
Mhm.
and live with that worry day in and day out. And I know plenty of trans women that are deathly as scared of that from experience where it's happened to just hearing horror stories.
Yeah.
So I know that there are people that if they were in my situation, they would be an active service member women that are in my situation that would answer that completely differently.
Well, and that's why at the beginning of the episode I brought up panic.
Yeah.
It's because that's what it is. It's panic. You know, and that's the thing is if you can make light on it, good. If you can make light of it, that's even better.
Mhm.
You know, and we all know, all
To be
know.
honest, sorry, you got me on a train of thought. I'd say the people, so not sexual assault, but sexual harassment, the people that interact with me on a day in and day out that are aware of my situation are probably more afraid of a sexual harassment case than I am, just because the Navy's taught them that everything is wrong, and if you say the wrong thing, that you're going to go up. And I do my utmost to make sure that those directly associating with me are aware of the fact, like, I don't care what you say, I don't care what question you ask. If you say something wrong, the first time you say it wrong, I will politely and professionally train you and correct you on why it's wrong, and that'll be the end of the story. And I'm not gonna run off to EO or run off to Simeo or
Yeah.
run off to FAP the first time someone crosses a line unintentionally into what could be considered sexual harassment. And that's one of my goals, is to show that, hey, you don't have to tiptoe around me and worry about that. I'm just another service member right here next to you.
Yeah.
And it's led to some really good situations. So the surgery I had was it's called a bilateral orchiectomy. It's the removal of the testes. After I had my surgery, I worked in an administrative role as a career counselor in the office with two chiefs, a senior chief, and a civilian GS-15 sitting right behind me, and another two second classes right next to me. And we were the admin office for a group of 150 sailors. So I was sitting there one day and he's like, EM2, I have a question. And I know you've told me before you don't care. But this question, I'm really worried. But I'm genuinely curious. I want to ask him, like, Chief, you know how I am. If you say something wrong, I'll tell you why it was wrong, and we'll move on about our day. Ask away. And he's like, okay. Does it feel weird not having testicles anymore? And this old fart chief about to retire is asking, and all of us in the office just cracked up. And we had an hour and a half conversation about it, and like genuine engagement, and like that wouldn't have happened because of people being afraid of a sexual harassment case.
Yeah.
Because that gets very borderline of, you're talking about sexual conversations.
Mhm.
It's a sexual organ, even if the conversation isn't overtly sexual. In a public space, it could be a valid sexual harassment case, and that's what the Navy's trained. So I understand the worry. So I would definitely say those around me are probably more worried about sexual harassment cases than I am.
Okay.
So,
all right, yeah. And you know what? I guess that's the one thing that's always been a bug up my ass, is going from a military way of thinking and watching, these veterans come out and continue as if they're in the military. And it's like, whoa, guys, whoa, hold on, come on. Let's have a meeting here.
You're a civilian now. You need to act like a civilian.
Oh no. We're prior. Here's what I tell them. All right. I said, you are a former service member.
Yeah.
Now working on the civilian side. I said, that bubble no longer extends around you. I said, for good or bad, you will be now corrected.
Yep.
I said whether by me or 8 other veterans who are willing to rip your fucking head off, like we would be if we were in a shop.
Yeah.
I said either way, it's now time to put that adapt and overcome training to good use.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell them it doesn't matter what color you are, we are the minority. I said there's about, I don't know, I don't ever look at, because they release statistics that, years behind. So like 1.7 or 2 million veterans or 2.7 million veterans in the United States.
Some really low percentage, less than 10%.
Yeah. So basically, we're a minority in this, country of ours. Be a fucking adult.
Yeah.
Find the fucking people that you can joke around with. If you're gonna joke around with them, joke around somewhere where someone who's not gonna be offended
won't overhear it.
Exactly.
Yep.
It's like
if you need to have that outlet, you need to be able to have that no filter conversation with someone. That's fine. Find that someone that's okay and have it in a private space. Have it behind closed doors and let that out. But that's not a public thing anymore.
No, and it's not. And it's so that's why that's a bug up my butt, is because it's like yeah, sometimes I most military people take stuff to the extreme because you're in an extreme situation.
That's how you deal with stress.
Yeah. And while it can still be professional, it is very unprofessional at the same time.
Yeah.
You
find a professional way to have the unprofessional conversations and environment.
Yeah, exactly. And I was telling somebody one time, A, don't remember names. B, was one of those puts the military onto the religious patriotism pedestal.
Mm-hmm.
The military are godlike figures. It's like, what? What? Yeah. I'm seeing that more and more often, and I'm like, no.
They're just other people like you and me that made a decision differently than you did.
Exactly. Even though the stuff we do is not usually done in the U.S. because of certain reasons, liabilities, stuff like that. But it's hard to explain to them, how unprofessional the military is, and at the same time how professional it is.
The unprofessional side being like how a perfect example of a professionalism of a U.S. state visit, which is what a port visit is. You're an independent country making a state visit to another independent country on a professional level. Mm-hmm. So you're there to build international relations. Can be the most unprofessional thing in the world. You got tens and hundreds of people going out and getting absolute drenched in alcohol, coming back missing half their clothing, maybe doing the stupidest shit ever, but they find a way to make it professional. If you're going to do that, okay, cool. As long as you can walk and be professional and keep your mouth shut and not puke, and the guy next to you, one of the person in your group hasn't had a drop of alcohol and is your boss essentially for your time being unprofessional, and can get you back safely without starting an international incident, go for it.
Yeah.
They find a professional way for the unprofessional.
I think the best thing I ever saw that was unprofessional was that story I told you before we started recording. That was the best unprofessional example I could ever give somebody.
Yep.
That was horrible. And but still on the recruiting, as a recruiting commercial and all that, you know, so we went for the low, but day in, day out, you're still the same person,
Yeah.
and you're still in the military for right now. Um, you know, have you any regrets?
uh from the military perspective of, do I regret joining? Do I regret re-enlisting? Do I regret doing the things I've done in the military? Not at all. Do I have regrets of, do I wish I had tried harder in high school so that way the military wouldn't have been the most attractive option, would have just been another option to weigh? Probably. I wish I hadn't set myself up into a situation that the military was the only option that didn't lead to staggering debt or a good future at the same time. Um, and but do I regret once I put myself in that situation by not trying my hardest through high school? Do I regret once I was in that situation to make the decision, making the decisions I've made? Not at all. I almost didn't re-enlist. Am I glad I re-enlisted? Yep, it was a great thing, and it was very touch and go. Like 3 days before my re-enlistment, I was having a not fully professional conversation with my senior enlisted leader in my department. That I basically like, if you're asking me to do what you're asking me to do, I'll do it. But no, I'm not going home and signing my re-enlistment contract. And so like it was very touch and go. I legitimately threatened, like, if this is what you're telling me to do, Roger that. I'm in the military. You're my boss. You're giving me an order. I will follow your orders. However, comma, my decision to stay in the military is no longer what it was before that order. So, but do I regret any of it? Not at all. Uh, I've enjoyed my service. I've hated my service at times. I've enjoyed the benefits. I've hated the benefits. There's been ups and downs, but overall, um, if I woke up tomorrow and I was in my my 17-year-old body at the exact same decision making I would have had to make then, would I make all the exact same decisions? I probably would.
Okay.
So I would have changed one thing.
Oh,
I would not have signed a nuke contract.
oh well, lessons learned,
I
right?
didn't I didn't I didn't succeed in that program, and if I could change having had to go through failing out of that program, I would.
Gotta be a
But
hard program.
something like the highest attrition rate in the Navy program that exists? Yeah, yeah. Was I one of those attrition numbers? Yeah, yeah.
A lot of math. That's a lot of math.
So I actually just had this conversation with one of my coworkers today. I work closely with civilian government employees and contractors. Our command is a hodgepodge of all three communities. And another nuke came in, and he mentioned it's called 30 TAC 5s, and she's like, "The fuck is that?" And we had to explain, okay, so nuke school isn't just nuke school. You have your 50 hours of schooling school week, but then that's not enough to teach you the material because they give you 50 hours of new material a week. They understand that people can't just absorb. They need to build foundations. So if you're not doing so good, they assign you mandatory study time. And I was on called mandatory 35s. That means Monday through Thursday, outside of normal work hours, I spend an additional 5 hours a day at school studying. And then in a single week, I have to spend an additional 30 hours. So the 5 hours a day, Monday through Thursday, is 20 of it. I got to come up with another 10 wherever the fuck I want. And she's like, that is insane. I'm like, welcome to nuke school.
Yeah. Well, you're putting something that can kill everybody.
Yep. When you're the single point of failure, the single point of human failure on a nuclear reactor that is the single source of propulsion, power, and the safety measures to make sure it's not a dangerous source that on a floating platform that has 3,000 people on board, yeah, they want to make sure you know your shit.
Yeah.
If you don't have it to a T, you're not gonna make it.
No, probably not. And God, I hope that they don't change that. Just like any of the training, I hope they don't change any of the training that it takes to get somebody in. You know, I know that was a fear, fear at one time, and it's like, okay, you can find a place for them to go when they decide that they're ready to go back and be more mature. Then guess what? Open that back up for them. Open that bad boy back up for them. Let them go through. Let's see if they got the drive and all that. This has been fun. I've enjoyed this. You know, it's been an enjoyable interview.
Indeed, thank you.
You know, and I had to throw out the book, but it's what happens when you gotta keep somebody employed. So even though we skipped this part, in the beginning, and I will put a disclaimer in the description. I want the audience to remember and know that these are personal opinions that have nothing to do with work areas or government agencies or anything else. And that, curiosity doesn't hurt. And being true to that other person, whether they serve with you or not, doesn't mean that our military is growing weaker by the day and by the people that we recruit. Just like it wasn't, weak when I went in 06. It's not weak when went in 11. Leadership needs to become the foundation of everything when it comes to any sort of change, whether you got one camp calling it radical, the other camp not calling it enough. Leadership has to be involved in this. And, from this interview, you have shown great leadership. And if not great, good. But even still, a military good is great. I mean, let's be honest here. If you get a military good job, I mean, you're just a superstar.
I've gotten 3 NAMs so far, so for stupid shit too. Oh my gosh. You want to guess what my NAMs have been for?
I'm gonna take a hard no on this one. Because the first thing that came to mind was transition.
My first NAM was for being the loudest watchstander, because loud equals motivated and motivated equals best. So I was the loudest watchstander as the lowest ranking watchstander in the watch bill, with no actual authority or power or real purpose to my job past being the runner to go get me. Got a NAM. Yep, for being the loudest essentially. It really what the NAM was for doing good on drills. No, I was they liked the fact that I yelled so loud that my voice would echo through someone keying their mic, echo in the control center, and if they keyed the mic in the control center, like one of the instructors keyed
Yep.
their private channel, they would hear me coming out their ear in their headset, and they thought that was the bee's knees.
Yeah. Hey,
Yep.
Good Lord.
Loud. My second NAM was for doing a spot check. So did you ever get involved in the 3M program? Are you familiar with the 3M program, the maintenance?
I'm sure I have been. It's been a while.
So you do your normal upkeep maintenance to maintain engineering equipment. Like the story you told me about, you guys were doing maintenance on your boat. To ensure the integrity of the maintenance program, the leadership does spot checks of the maintenance performed to make sure that it's being performed right. I got my second NAM for doing a really good spot check.
Okay.
So proving I did my job the way I was supposed to do my job in a very good manner.
Okay. All right.
And then my third NAM was the attaboy, you do it 5 years without getting in trouble. Here's you did your good you did your job consistently for 5 years. Have an award.
Well, I mean, that is it. That would be more, that and the yelling, or that and the motivated would be a good reason for NAMs right there. I'll be honest with you. Because,
Yep.
Most people in their careers can't get through a month without.
Yep, getting in trouble.
So, and yeah, you know what? That's good. You got 3 NAMs. And you know what? Keep being that good leader.
I do try.
That you know how to be, and helping to, helping others to, if they need help transitioning or going through their transition or doing all the POSs and
So I definitely in both like the military to civilian transition and then my medical transition. So I have done my best to be a leader with both of those. The military to civilian, I was a career counselor for a number of years. I've been through TAP twice and all of the follow-on courses myself before I was even close to getting out, just so I had the information to pass, because my command has a very high my command is a command that is where a lot of people that are in the process of being discharged, either through retirement, through medical, through legal, through any reason, they end up in our command. So I have got the information to help them through their process. And then the medical side, like there have been 4 people who I've literally driven them to the courthouse and helped them file all the documents and sat right there as the court clerk's like, I don't know if this is going to get approved. The last time we did this, it was a really long process and there was an issue with the paperwork and I don't know if it ever actually happened. And I'm like, yep, that was me. I was that case. I was like, I thought I recognized. I'm like, yeah, I made sure this paperwork was all done the right way. There shouldn't be any issue. Like I go out of my way to ensure the lessons learned in my career are lessons I can help other people with in theirs.
There you go. That's what a good leader is right there. That's exactly what good leadership is.
Yep. I suck at being a boss because I suck at making decisions and being the responsible one, but I'm a good leader in that I help others through their issues. Yep. So I make a horrible boss, but I make a great leader.
Well, at least you know that there's a difference between a leader and a boss.
Yeah.
That's the first step.
You put me, you make me a boss of someone, and the relationship there is going to be more like coworker than boss and subordinate, and I definitely have done that for a number of years. But leadership, you don't have to be in a leadership position to show leadership. Exactly. The guy at the bottom can be a leader for the guy at the top.
Exactly. Well, thank you for coming on to the interview, and I will most definitely be having you on again when you're available. And it's been a good show, and I will see you again and have you on again when you are out. And
Sounds
there
like
you
a
go. Oh, hold on, I forgot something. Dang it. Ah,
plan.
so I know before, in between, um, we have talked about your future goals, but let's let the audience know future goals.
Okay. Yep. So I get out of the Navy officially. Like the date stamped on my DD 214 is going to be this year December, or this year November. But I start my separation, my terminal leave here in about 3 months. The immediate term goals, I'm gonna get out and be a commercial trucker. I got my Class A commercial driver's license. Gonna go get me another. The military taught me how to put up with a very volatile, not consistent living situation. So I have no problem being away from home for weeks and weeks at a time. I did it for months and months at a time in the military. We're gonna go do that, be a long distance over the road trucker. While I do that, I get my bachelor's in business administration this year, December. I'm gonna start my master's in business administration in the spring semester and do an MBA doing being a trucker, so do an online program. And then once I have my MBA and I've done that career for a couple of years, I plan to transition to the civil service because the same reason I joined the military, ain't no employer like the government that has the benefits the government has.
Right now, just you wait.
Right now, yeah, the world is changing. It's becoming a very what's the Biden administration just put out a statement on what their goal is, a labor market where there is an overabundance of jobs and a shortage of labor. So instead of the employees fighting for a position, the employees are fighting each other or having employers fight each other to get them to work for them.
Yep.
So if that trend continues, then a couple years from now, the government might not be the best option anymore.
Nope.
The rest of the world might get with their game and start having some actual comprehensive benefit plans in place.
Yep. That's usually how it will work.
World's an interesting place to live, that's for sure.
Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is. All right. Well, thank you for coming on, and I will be talking to you again for another interview. We'll say end of November, maybe beginning of December
Sounds good.
for your transition time. That way I can be like, how is
Sounds like a plan.
Well, thank you for coming on the show.
Not a problem.
All right.